Here's a special
Special report.
special report.
Well, let's go.
Bulletin.
And I'm actually-
I'll give you a bulletin special.
And I'm going to tell you, here's John Hopwood with our political activist, our special political, not activist, our contributor tonight, right here on Amsterdam. John, take it away, man.
Am I on?
Yeah.
Hi, Jean-Claude Hopwood from Amsterdam News. That's me. In a stunning upset, the disgraced Theodore Gatsas, who was forced to resign in the midst of a tough re-election battle due to the financial fallout from the mayor's office's acquisition of Santa's Village, unexpectedly won a fourth term while in exile in Aruba. Gatsas had been reduced to renting umbrellas and passing out daiquiris to thirsty patrons at a shanty bar located on a nude beach owned by his brother Michael. Preliminary election results revealed Gatsas beating Alderman Joyce Craig by either 83 or 85 votes, depending on a sampling of freshly printed ballots shipped out to Ward 1 after a voting machine failure. The discrepancy of the two numbers reportedly is related to the reluctance of the ink on the fresh ballots to properly dry before they were inspected. Voting machines went kaput in Ward 1, Craig's home base, for 2 hours during a busy voting period. Ballots were then put in a quote-unquote drop box to be resurrected at a later time and run through a new voting machine rushed to the spot. Craig unexpectedly failed to rack up the large majority in Ward 1 that she'd enjoyed during the primary, which likely cost her the election. Ex-KGB agent Anastasia Makarova, who was hired a fortnight ago to serve in the office of the city clerk on the orders of acting mayor / police chief Keith Hirschman, addressed the controversy at a press conference called to announce both her resignation as assistant city clerk and her return to Mother Russia. Makarova will be returning to her native Moscow, where she will serve as a masseuse and skeet shooting partner to Tsar Vladimir Putin. Makarova said that the breakdown of the voting machines in Craig's unexpectedly poor showing in Ward 1 was strictly a coincidence. Makarova then praised Queen City voters for resurrecting the moribund career of Ted Gatsas, saying it reminded her of the rehabilitation of the old Flaming Red Party bosses after the collapse of the Soviet Union. When queried by City Hall columnist Paul Feely of the Gatsas Gazette, formerly the Union leader, on whether Joyce Craig was accurate in describing Ted Gatsas as a dictator, Makarova said that while the once and future mayor lacked the testicular fortitude of a Putin, he did share the Russian president's predilection for lying, skullduggery, and faked outrage over valid criticism he turns around and claims is a smear on the motherland. She then said, "Ha-ha," expletive deleted, before leaving the Queen City in an Uber cab driven by ex-police chief Nick Willard. She visited the outlying towns of Hooksett and Bow, passing on information on Tsar Teddy's plans to illegally annex them for cash contributions to President Putin's re-election campaign. Oh. More news about former school board chair David Wibby, who created the ruckus that brought down ex-mayor Gatsas after the Queen City's poor excuse for a dictator appointed him suzerain of Santa's Village after Gatsas illegally annexed the popular attraction. A suzerain is a type of despot or overlord. Upon assuming the post, Wibby outraged Granite Staters by canning Goffstown State Rep John Burt, who was moonlighting as St. Nick. After Burt got the sack, I think there's a pun in there. Santa's elves went on strike when Wibby refused to acquiesce to their demands to be put on the Jager-Decker pay system. The final straw in the Santa Village scandal that brought down Mayor Gatsas came when Wibby terminated a village volunteer who had been sporting a Craig for Mayor button, falsely claiming that she had been let go for telling a child, "Yes, Virginia, there is no Santa Claus." It's the sad duty of Amsterdam News to report that early this afternoon, a distraught Wibby took an overdose of dark chocolate candies purloined from Santa's Village gift shop, believing them to be the X-Lax brand laxative. After fleeing Santa's village, Wibby wound up in a rest stop on the Kangamangas Highway, where he and Gerard at Large, radio host Rich Gerard, were arrested by state police for simultaneously occupying an outdoor privy. Protesting his innocence, Wibby claimed he was merely attempting to evacuate his bowels. The two were released from police custody when New Hampshire Republican Party Chair Jennifer Horn convinced state troopers that Wibby had had no idea that Gerard had secreted himself in the drop zone of the privy. Gerard promptly apologized to his listeners in the city of Manchester, claiming that the ordeal had made him a better Christian. In related news, Rich Gerard, the school board member at large electee, attempted to quash the uproar that resulted from his announcement that he was leaving his ego to the Manchester Historical Society by striking out that bequest from his last will and testament. Viewers remember that, faced with the enormous expense of building a suitable enclosure to house Rich Gerard's ego, Historical Society President John Clayton appealed to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen for a loan. Matters came to a head when Aldermen Jim Roy and William Shea, during the special meeting of the board called to deal with the Gatsis resignation crisis, led the move to kill the deal, claiming that the cost of the debt service on the loan would effectively bust the city charter mandated tax cap for the years 2017 to 2022, inclusive. During the special meeting of the board, Alderman Roy was particularly adamant in opposing the loan, saying that the proposed deal stinks. Shea promptly agreed, saying there was a funky aroma about the whole business. In a magnanimous gesture designed to save the city of Manchester money and preserve the tax cap, Rich Gerard announced today that instead of his ego, he was leaving his testicles to the Historical Society. John Clayton gladly accepted the bequest to the Queen City. John Clayton gladly accepted the bequest of Rich Gerard's testicles to the Queen City, saying that Gerard's gonads could fit snugly into a Wizard of Oz lunch pail, formerly owned by Peyton Place authoress and former Manchester resident Grace Metalius. The lunch pail, which features a marvelous depiction of the late Judy Garland as the Dorothy of Oz, which incidentally is one of Rich Gerard's alter egos, generously was donated to the Historical Society by former state rep Steve Valancourt, who recently was made a Grand Dame of the Order of Canada by the Quebec Parliament. As we used to say on the West Side, y cavai. Ward 7 Alderman William Bill Shea won his record 41st consecutive term. The 116-year-old alderman, the illegitimate offspring of former Secretary of the Navy Frank Knox and his Irish maid Bridget Shea, was first elected to the board during the Democratic sweep of 1933. 82 years later, Shea crushed his opponent, despite being limited to only campaigning at night. Queen City citizens with long memories will remember that Shea, who was a corporal in the Yankee Division during the Great War, was stationed in Transylvania after the cessation of hostilities on November 11, 1918. He was bitten in the private parts while visiting a brothel by a prostitute who turned out to be Dracula's daughter. A quick-thinking patron saved Corporal Shea's life by taking him immediately to a local mohel. Now, for viewers not of the Jewish persuasion, a mohel is a ritual circumciser. Snip, 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 snip. Upon returning to Manchester after being demobilized, Bill Shea was able to lead a surprisingly robust life, given that he was now technically a vampire. His good health reportedly was the result of blood transfusions obtained from frequent trips to the Red Cross Blood Bank. Alderman Shea today set yet another record when Mike Lopez, chair of Manchester's Veterans Council, announced that the centenarian, Joel, you should really help me with that one, the centenarian would once again be the Grand Marshal of the Veterans Day Parade for the 41st consecutive year. 41 consecutive terms as alderman, 41 consecutive years as Grand Marshal of the Veterans Day Parade. Can those records ever be bested? The political grapevine says that whoever wants to beat Bill Shea and become Ward 7 alderman would be better relying on a wooden stake rather than the ballot box. Back at City Hall, The fallout from Keith Hirschman's successful coup d'etat against once acting Mayor Joseph Kelly Levasseur continues. Levasseur, who had been selected by the Board of Aldermen to succeed Ted Gatsas, generated a public backlash after he continued his jihad against former police chief Enoch Nick Willard. Viewers will remember that after being sworn in as mayor by Chief Willard last month, Levasseur promptly fired him, naming Ward 12 Alderman Keith Hirschman as acting chief of police. Among Hirschman's first acts was having former city clerk Leo Bernier arrested for vagrancy and obtaining a restraining order against New Hampshire Democratic Party chairman Ray Buckley, who was forbidden from coming anywhere near Mayor Levasseur while bearing a rubber chicken. Levasseur went too far when he banned Willard, reduced to operating an Uber cab to make ends meet, from entering all 12 wards of the city of Manchester until he could show an adequate commercial general liability policy for his Uber cab. By order of Mayor Levasseur, that limit was set at $20 million. Levasseur had outraged Manchester by moving the mayor's office to the Valley Street Jail, where he opened up a new branch of his law practice, a move that drew the protest of Joyce Craig's husband, criminal defense attorney Mike Craig. Chief Hirschman promptly had Mike Craig arrested for jogging in Bronstein Park in violation of Mayor Levasseur's new curfew, which he refused to post either at the park or on the city website. The resulting uproar led to Chief Hirschman removing acting Mayor Levasseur from office after calling upon help from a particular labor union, whom now acting Mayor Hirschman has forbidden us here at MPTV to name. In breaking news, Manchester News can now report that Alderman Craig has joined her husband in the Valley Street Jail, recently renamed the Gatsas Brothers Rehabilitation and Recreation Center, Incorporated. Alderman Joyce was arrested for feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, and comforting the poor. Acting Mayor / Police Chief Hirschman said that such activities were now verboten, German for banned. Chief Hirschman said that all charitable activities are now under license to a private corporation that we here at MPTV are forbidden to name. The crackdown is part of Mayor Hirschman's new policy of banning all Democrats from any acts of compassion until the end of the New Hampshire primary season. When reached at the Aruba Beach shanty, Mayor-elect Maybe Gatsas, after a trying day of menial labor serving the corpulent couples that seemed to frequent nude beaches, said he approved of acting Mayor / Police Chief Hirschman's suppression of dissent. Gatsas was quite cordial until he realized that the reporter was yours truly, Jean-Claude Hopwood, after which he said, expletive deleted. Gatsas then went on to say that mine was one name he never wished he ever heard again. And that's Manchester Dam News for November 4th, 2015.
Wow. Wow. Thank you. Wow. Special Wednesday night update. Wow.
That's a lot of news.